Hello, Sound Seekers. Welcome to what I can only assume is your fourth or fifth favorite podcast. This episode features a lovely chat with a DJ and electronic music artist that goes by many names. Mapache Lazer Disco is the one in the title. People have also referred to him as On Young is Fine, K-Cho, Kevin Sup Yeah. It's my boy, Kevin Cho, a dear friend of mine who I spent a lot of time working on musical projects with during our time together at UCSB. He's even contributed to a number of Redefining Records projects, so I couldn't be happier that I got to sit down, catch up, and have a nice long chat with him about music. We talk about Kevin's musical journey, our first concert-going experiences, and our favorite concert-going experiences. We talk about the IV music scene and DIY shows, Korean music. We talk about We the Beat, and so much more, so stay tuned for the interview. This episode is going to be slightly unique because Kevin actually preferred to showcase some music by other artists rather than original music. So these are some of his favorite up-and-coming artists, and these are some tracks that he's been spinning lately on his live stream DJ sets. Which, by the way, you can find by following Kevin at KevinSupYeah on Instagram to stay up to date with all the information on dates and times for those sessions. So let's get to it. Before the interview, you're going to hear a track called We by Jeebonoff featuring Sogumm. And after the interview, you'll hear a song called Wondering by Becky and the Birds. These are both really cool tracks. I recommend you go check out these artists and give them a follow on Spotify and Instagram as well. As always, thank you for listening. Please remember to follow this show, Sound for Thought, on Spotify or wherever you listen to podcasts.
너무 빠르게 뜨거워진 게 문제일까 하룻밤 대화 몇 시간에 너와 나만 비슷하다 느껴 내 맘이 불안하단 이유로 그날 처음 본 내게라도 네가 날 안아주길 바랬던 걸까 그게 지금의 문제일까 우린 누구보다 오래된 것 같아 서로를 보는 눈빛이 조금 특별해 보인대 마냥 크게 좋은 우린 더 욕심을 내 사랑은 쏟아내 적은 시간 안에 요즘 너에게 손끝에 내 기억 안에 항상 행복해하던 얼굴을 볼 수가 없는데 혹시 나와의 시간에 난 실증이 난 걸까 If 우리가 조금만 서두르지 않았다면 좋을까 If 너를 대하던 내가 되려 어색했다면 좋을까 If 우리가 조금만 서로 선을 그었다면 좋을까 If 그랬던 내가 널 이렇게 좋아하진 않았을까 싶어 급하게 나가지 않았더라면 Feel 우리가 조금만 물린댔었더라면 이런 핑계는 그만되기로 해 내 생각엔 시간 문제일 뿐이야 널 안 돼 어디서 어떻게 만났던 똑같이 좋아했을 거라고 우리가 조금만 서두르지 않았다면 좋을까 If I 너를 대하던 내가 되려 어색했다면 좋을까 If we 우리가 조금만 서로 선을 그었다면 좋을까 If I 그랬던 내가 널 이렇게 좋아하진 않았을까 싶어 이렇게 좋아하진 않았을까 싶어 이렇게 좋아하진 않았을까 싶어 그날의 우리가 너와의 모든 순간을 조심했는데 그 모든 게 다 의미는 없었던 듯한데 이제 If we 우리가 조금만 서두르지 않았다면 좋을까 If I 너를 대하던 내가 되려 어색했다면 좋을까 If we 우리가 조금만 서로 선을 그었다면 좋을까 If I 그랬던 내가 널 이렇게 좋아하진 않았을까 싶어
Start recording right away because there's no good transition from chit chat to non-chit chat or
yeah
whatever.
Sure.
And I will edit everything at the end, so
no worries. Yeah,
just gonna start rolling,
totally.
capture the energy.
Yeah
So 100%. What have you been up to?
Like today or just in general?
In general.
Dude, I mean, I'm sure my life has been pretty uneventful compared to, you know, a lot of people. Just like with lockdown and COVID kind of hitting like the places that I usually go to the most. I've been spending most of my time just kind of kicking back at home. So I've had enough of of my room.
Oh yeah, I feel that.
Yeah. What about yourself?
Same for the most part. I mean, nothing's too bad. I haven't been really directly impacted in any way. Nobody I know has really been impacted severely or outside of just, what we all have to deal with the inconvenience.
Right, yeah.
But yeah, I mean, just staying home for the most part, working on various things. I mean, lots of free time for hobbies and interesting projects, but obviously I miss people. I miss hanging out with friends. But it seems like things are slowly moving back towards opening up a little bit, I guess.
Yeah, I've been talking to a lot of people in the kind of Huntington, Orange County area through work, and there's a lot of signs that it's starting to reopen over there.
Yeah, I guess LA is a little bit tighter still, right, though?
Yeah, it's really strict. I'm in Santa Barbara right now, so.
Oh, you are? Okay, I was thinking you were in LA, but.
Yeah. I'm in SB currently, so I'm not. If anything, they've been starting to open up here as well. But I do know that LA is. I mean, I just feel like they just don't want it to be like New York, right? It's like a large city with like a high population density. So I think they're just trying to be, pretty cautious of all that.
Yeah. Well, it's unavoidable to talk about COVID, but I do like to we all know the bad shit. I do like to kind of ask people what they think the silver linings are, at least in your personal life, if it's given you more time to work on your passion projects and stuff, or like, what do you think are some positives that can come out of this whole thing for you or for anybody?
Yeah. I think, I mean, personally, I've just had a lot more time to, kind of catch up. Well, a little background is that I moved to Santa Barbara at the very beginning of January. and
Yeah.
I've just been kind of working nonstop. And when I'm not working, I wanted to kind of explore the city and go out to bars and restaurants and meet up with friends and or whatever, right? But like having the ability to kind of sit back and just think to myself, um, like help me kind of re-explore like reading and like audiobooks and stuff. And
Hmm.
it's just giving me the ability to kind of reflect a lot more. Of course, like there's also like me being able to kind of appreciate my time with my family a lot more and just kind of seeing, um, just people getting closer is always a really good thing.
Yeah.
Obviously, like the situation isn't good, but I think having the kind of circumstances that we do, it's led to me, getting a lot closer to my housemate, who's already a good friend of mine, and talking to my parents more often than I normally did, which is also pretty good. And just kind of appreciating things more on a slower kind of roll, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, makes a lot of sense, I think. I agree with pretty much everything you said. So you're working at Procore now?
Yeah, yeah. I've started working in January. I actually, funny enough, like yesterday, um, the reason why I got back to you like kind of late about this podcast, I think I called or texted you at like 6:30.
Hmm.
I was like in a meeting with like my manager, and basically they're moving me up. They promoted me to a higher role.
Oh, hell
Um,
yeah, dude.
yes,
Congrats.
I'm pretty stoked. It's been like a really good 2 days. Thank you. And I just had, a really good end to the day yesterday, hit my numbers. Was really excited to talk to you and talk shop. So I like,
Hell yeah.
honestly, I didn't really get much sleep last night because I was just kind of, whenever I'm looking forward to something, I rarely like sleep that long or whatever. So that's just been my 24 hours more or less.
Okay, so you're going to be delirious during this whole thing?
Yeah, exactly. I might be like hallucinating and
Hey,
like
I
that.
like it.
Yeah.
That's all for the better. Maybe you'll say some crazy shit.
Yeah. Yeah. It's definitely possible that's going to happen.
Are you still involved with We the Beat at all?
Like involved in terms of working with them, like do I plan the shows with them and stuff? Like, no, not really, not anymore. But involved in the sense that like Kirk and Blake, the founders of We the Beat, are still really good friends of mine. Yes, like they're some of my closest friends. Um, it's sad to see any like business kind of taking a major hit because of the restrictions in place.
Hmm.
And We the Beat had a lot of stuff lined up for this year. Like we were gonna have snail mail, and I believe they were gonna have Jack Harlow like in Las Vegas.
Mm.
It was looking good. They had a lot of stuff lined up, and none of those shows are gonna happen this year. So yeah, it was hard to see that's the case. The venue Soho is also going through a pretty hard time right now. So um, yeah, it's tough to see. But to answer like your original question, like yes, I'm still like very close to them and want to help them in whatever way possible.
Yeah, hopefully they'll be able to make some sort of comeback. Do you know what they've been doing in the meantime? Have the guys just been kind of working on other stuff, or have they been doing anything online or with streaming or something like that? Or
Yeah, so I know they did like a couple of live streams, like on a weekly basis. Um, but I mean, in terms of like We the Beat, there's not much you can do, I'd say, right?
yeah,
Like it kind of revolved around having live concerts in venues. So no in that regards, but like I know that they're kind of working on their different side projects that don't exactly have to do with music. Um, so they're still active. They're just for obvious reasons they can't keep working on We the Beat.
yeah. Well, hopefully it'll all work out and they'll come back strong.
Yeah, I mean, can you imagine like the first show that they do is like some like big artist and the restrictions are finally open? It's going to be packed in there.
Yeah, hopefully. Yeah. I
Yeah.
have no idea how this whole thing's gonna move forward, but I hope it's strong like that. Some sort of big, you know, moving on party.
Yeah, I think it will be. Just from the signs of like Santa Barbara, like reopened State Street last weekend, right? And just like the first sign of something reopening, it was like a complete zoo out there.
Yeah.
There's so many people out there, and I feel like that's what's going to happen. And I'm definitely looking forward to it. I'm sure as like everyone else is.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I got to make sure with every guest I go back and learn a little bit about your history and kind of how you grew up with music. So I'm interested to kind of hear a little story time about how you got into music, like as a young person or as a kid, whenever you started kind of really feeling passionate about it, or even when you started learning to play it in some capacity, and like how your family was involved, whether your parents were musical, all those types of things. So,
Yeah, yeah. That's a. I think that's a great question. I've actually never been asked that before, and I rarely talk about it because it just never gets brought up.
mhm.
Um, so my parents were not musical. They like my mom sang in the choir or something, and uh, my dad always liked music, but he wasn't like too into it or whatever. Um, there's like my first kind of memory of really getting into music was through my mom had this like CD of he's this really famous Korean artist, and obviously like during her kind of late like early adult years, she he was really famous then too, and like she would play him on CD, like this huge CD player that we had, and that's like kind of the first memory I have of just really liking music and wanting to learn like how like rhythm kind of operates within a song and how a beat can be utilized to invoke like certain ways that the song um, is going and whatnot. So
Mhm.
yeah, that's definitely the first time.
Do you have the name of that artist?
Yeah, his name is so it's spelled this way. So it's like if you just pronounce it off the pronunciation, it's like Kim
Mhm.
Gun, like so Kim, which is like a pretty common last name, and then gun, like I'm shooting a gun, and then Mo, Mo, and but like it's pronounced like Kim Gun Mo, right? So like
Gotcha.
he's like really he's still like he's kind of like a legend, right? But he was
Cool.
like really popular like when I was like 4 and my mom was like a lot younger. But he kind of well, first of all, has like a very unique voice. He's really
Mm.
good at singing. Um, but he was like one of the first people to kind of accentuate like pop and like hip hop elements and stuff into his songs, which is really cool. I think he like I might be wrong on this, but he was definitely like one of the pioneers in kind of popularizing all of that.
Yeah.
So he had a lot of really good. I still listen to some of his songs like today. Actually, they hold up. Some of them were like way ahead of like its time. I'd say.
Yeah, that's cool. I'm definitely intrigued. I want to go check it out.
Yeah, yeah. I can send you like a song that I
Yes,
think. Yeah.
please.
I send a song to like everybody who like wants to kind of hear like oldies, and it's like actually really good. Like it's pretty swanky.
Sick.
Yeah.
So from there, that kind of got you interested, or at least that's kind of your earliest memory. At what point did you go like I need to make music, or I need to make this part of my life in a big way?
Yeah. So like I don't know when I've always like, you know, since I was like a lot younger, I've always wanted to play the drums. I think I like asked my dad like hundreds of times if I could buy a drum set. And I think he kind of like finagled me into not getting one because like when I was a lot younger, and this is like probably one of my biggest regrets ever, is like he said that you know, I can purchase, like I think I was like 12 or something. He said I can choose between like a PS3 or like a drum set, right? And I think the reason why he did that was because he didn't want something super loud. I think he assumed that I'd just choose the console, and he was right. I like chose like the PS3 over it, and I like regretted it super hard afterwards. But luckily, there was like this music school really close to my house at the time, and the music teacher was nice enough for me to go in there like during off hours, like at 6-7 p.m. when there's no classes going on, and just start practicing on the drums. So that's something that I'm like still looking forward to. Unfortunately, like I think I played for like 3 years or something, just self-teaching myself. And in high school, we moved to a completely different place. So couldn't afford or couldn't, you know, there was regulations on noise and stuff to the places I moved. So one of my goals right now is to actually like try to find my own place and buy a drum set and just start it up again. But that's kind of how it went. You know, when I was younger, and I've always just knew that, like even in high school, like the first thing that I was going to do when I turned 18 was go to a concert. And that's exactly what I did. I think like the first month that I turned 18, I went to a concert, and that freaking fucking like blew my mind, right? Like I was just like incredibly like amazed, like couldn't believe like what I was seeing and hearing. And as I was kind of going into college, my senior year of high school, I just knew that I had to like somehow try to be as involved in the music scene as possible.
Who was that first concert you saw?
Oh, dude. So here's the crazy thing is that I was my senior year. This is like obviously I don't recommend anybody to do this, and this is like not something that everybody should do.
This is gonna be good.
Yeah, I frequently, you know, may have not gone to some of my classes my senior year.
Oh, and, you horrible boy.
Yeah. I think there was like an entire like month where like some of my closest friends, like even to this day, they were like a year or two older than me, and they were studying at UC Berkeley.
Yeah.
And I think I went like an entire month of like one of my senior years of just like in Berkeley, like I was there living with them and kind of having fun and whatnot. And one of the things that I like slowly realized is that, you know, I'm 18 in Berkeley, and I have the ability to, you know, purchase a ticket. Like I can kind of go to these things. And I remember like one of my friends came up to me, and he just said, dude, there's this concert going on, and like it's happening in like 2 days. I can get you a ticket. And I didn't even know who it was. I was just like, yeah, let's do it. And it ended up being the most it was 4 artists, right? And like I remember the first 3 artists, like I was like, wow, that was really good, blah blah blah. Like, you know, those were the memories that I had. It was like really crazy. I like recently went back to see if I could find what that lineup was, because I didn't remember who they were. So basically the headliners were Disclosure. Yeah, and it was like their first tour ever, right? Like they like, or like first like major headline tour. Like they had like one popular song out, and it like barely just came out. It was like Latch with like Sam Smith. And like everybody knew them for that one song and like nothing else pretty much, right? And so I was like, yeah, I don't really know these guys, but like, yeah, this Latch song has like 100,000 plays. Like, sure, I'll like go listen to it. Like it sounds pretty cool. I think like Sam Smith came out. No, not I think like Sam Smith did come out, and everyone's like, oh shoot, like that's the Latch guy,
Yeah.
like nobody knew like who he was. And obviously Sam Smith is huge now. Went
Yeah,
back and
that's
saw the
funny.
lineup. Yeah, dude, it's crazy how things kind of turn out that way. Went back and I saw the lineup, and the openers were Kate Trinata,
Oh my God.
yeah, Claude Von Stroke, and Justin Martin. Like they were doing a back-to-back set, and then it was Disclosure, and
Wow.
I didn't know who any of those people were at the time, and it just like blew my mind when I kind of looked for it again. I found a flyer luckily like about a year ago.
Yeah, that's wild.
Yeah, really really crazy show. But yeah, it's just kind of ingrained into my memory now.
Yeah, that's cool. I remember my first concert was like one of those big day festivals, like one day festival, mini festival at it was called LA Rising. I don't know if you heard of it.
No, I
It
don't
was
think
at
I have. Is that like no longer like
I
a
don't
thing
think
anymore?
it I don't think they did it again. It was I guess it must have been 2011 or something. I think I was a freshman in high school, and I went with like a friend and his uncle.
Oh, nice.
Had to be chaperoned, of course, and it
Yeah,
was at
yeah.
it was at the Coliseum in LA, and the lineup was like Rise Against and Rage Against the Machine was the headliner.
Wow.
Yeah, and Muse was the
Wait, holy
and
crap! That's an
yeah,
insane lineup.
yeah, it was like huge. It was like a massive event, and it was kind of awesome. And I didn't really. It's funny because I didn't know who Muse was.
Oh, you didn't know who Muse was at the time?
Yeah, they were pretty big. Obviously, to be playing this big of a show, everyone else knew
Right.
who they were, but I
Right.
didn't.
Yeah.
And then, yeah, this after that, I was like obsessed with Muse for like a solid 2 years.
Yeah, dude. Wow, that's crazy. Like Muse. Like, do they even go on tour anymore? Like, I don't think I've seen them on like any lineup or anything
I
like
don't think
that
for
in a
a
while.
while. I mean, they've definitely still been putting out music. They put out an album not too long ago. It was like I forgot the name of it. It's like Simulation Theory or something like that.
Huh.
They're still pumping out albums, but I don't know how often they tour. I
Yeah.
mean, I think their touring is like kind of a big deal. Like they only do massive stadium
Right.
headlining
Right.
tours
Yeah.
now, you know.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm not really sure exactly what they're doing. But anyway, it was just funny because I just experienced the thing of like not knowing somebody huge and then just
Just like
like
retroactively discovering them.
exactly retroactively discovering just like a massively talented band.
Yeah. That's awesome. Yeah. I feel like I might have had. I mean, I think like just like even in some of my other um, earlier shows, like that's happened. So that's really sick to hear because that's kind of the best, right? Like you don't really know them, but you've heard like such and such about them, and you kind of like explore them like on your own, quote unquote, right? Like you're
Yeah.
evaluating them like for yourself rather than kind of hearing about them and kind of formulating your opinion around that. So I think that's awesome.
Yeah, I think that's kind of a fun topic. Is the is it better to come into a show, where you're seeing like your favorite band and you can sing along to all the songs and you know and love them, or is it better to come in with like a blank slate and just have the potential to discover something that'll blow your mind? Of course, that could also mean, they could disappoint you, but I just think that's
Yeah.
interesting. I don't know. What do you prefer? Do you prefer to discover through live music, or do you prefer to discover, on your own first and then see them?
I don't think I have a preference in like how I want to go about it, but like if I had to choose like what experience I liked better, I definitely say like seeing a band that I didn't like know too much about, but just like coming out of it like wowed and just like, falling in love with their music, or not even just a band, like any artist really.
Yeah.
Um, for me, I think that's more like meaningful and it's more impactful than going to an artist show that I've, liked for a long time. Like, although like that's a freaking awesome experience as well. Um, I just think that I just like being shocked. I think like in a good way, right?
Yeah, yeah.
I don't like choose like how to do it. So I don't like if there's a show like coming up or something. I won't like purposely not listen to any of their music. Like if on the off chance that I just like don't have the time to, but obviously like fortunately I've been very, very, very fortunate to have the opportunity to go to a lot of shows in the last couple of years. So like there's been times where I'm like, oh yeah, I don't know anything about this person, and I kind of forget about them and don't listen to any of their music, and I go and just coming out of it like, holy crap, like these guys are awesome.
Yeah.
I think I prefer that. Um, but then again, they're pretty equal, right? Like nothing really beats like, I mean, you were at that LCD show, and much more you're a more hardcore LCD fan than I am, like by like like a huge mile. So like I'm sure like that was like a huge experience for you, because it was like a really, I was freaking amazed. That was the first time I've ever seen them. So
Yeah. That's a borderline religious experience for me.
yeah, that was, yeah, I can't even imagine like how it was for you. I knew obviously of like a good, portion of their hits, but I wasn't like too kind of entrenched into their like lore and, their background and stuff.
Yeah.
So that was really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, what is there something like, do you kind of prefer like one or the other? Like what's your thoughts on?
I mean, I think you kind of put it well. I think it can go nicely both ways. And I guess they're not, it's fun to kind of debate, but I guess they're just different experiences. And I've had both, and I've had really epic and mind-blowing experiences both ways,
Right.
I think hearing Muse for the first time was like the most mind-blowing for somebody. I mean, that was also, because I was young and I really just hadn't been exposed to much music at all yet. Was still like trying to discover anything that was like not my dad's music, or
Yeah.
So I think that is like really cool. But then, like you said, me seeing like LCD, which is my favorite band ever, is like can't can't really beat that. So both ways are good, but
Yeah.
just kind of different. Yeah.
Yeah. I did want to ask you a question on something that you just said. So like, I didn't really grow up like being involved with like, there wasn't too much music in my house, right? Um, and I think that's a bit of a difference with some of, our friends that I've talked to. It seems like, their parents always did like some sort of music, and it was always kind of around. Like for you, because I feel, and I guess I could be wrong about this, but I feel like my kind of early memories of music was things that I like. Besides the story I told you, it's all been like my discovery of artists that I really liked and whatnot. But when there's a lot of your dad's and mom's music around you, like is that something that like you kind of came back to around liking, or did you just initially try to like reject it and kind of go your own way about like what genres you liked, or was there like a balance in between that?
Yeah. For me, my parents have always kind of casually played music, but never really put any importance on it. So I mean, they played stuff in the car, CDs in the car, and they're not musicians themselves.
Right.
It was never made to be important in our house. But I guess my like early memories of when I first started to get into it more seriously was when I got my first iPod, you know, and
Yeah, yeah, that's crazy. Me too. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
that was like sometime in like middle school, and that's when I'm like, okay, I figured out what an iPod is. I have iTunes in front of me. What songs do I go buy?
Right, right,
And this is the beginning of the discovery process of like what I have no idea to where to begin. I mean,
right.
so first thing that happens is just my dad gives me like a couple bands of CDs he has,
Uh-huh.
which were in hindsight not great.
What were they?
It was like, well, they have their value. I won't talk shit on them, but I think there were bands like Creed and, Nickelback and
Oh, got it.
Three Doors Down
Yeah, yeah,
and
yeah.
kind of just like that kind of, I don't even know what the genre is, just like bro rock kind of.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's a really good way of kind of putting it. That kind of whole era of rock.
Exactly, yeah. So I listened to it for a while as just kind of a jumping off point, and it did get me excited about just guitar music in general, I guess. Um, but I definitely moved away from it quickly, and my dad is also a really big country fan, and I absolutely despise most country music.
Yeah.
So there was a quick kind of, it was kind of just a jumping off point for me, just because you kind of have to be exposed to what your parents do.
Right.
But I'm kind of more similar to you in that I ended up doing most of my discovery on my own, kind of finding my own path once I had the channel set up, once I knew what iTunes was, and then once I discovered LimeWire and I could download anything I wanted for free. That changed everything.
Yeah.
Um, so my parents weren't too musical. They exposed me to some things casually, but I I definitely moved away quickly from what they listen to. Although I do like my mom's music. She kind of is into like 80s rock. She loves, like Queen and stuff like that.
Oh, cool. Yeah, yeah.
So I definitely relate to her more. She had a record collection that she kind of gave to me, and there's some good albums in there.
Yeah. I mean, 80s rock is, I feel like it's kind of timeless, right? Like it just keeps coming back,
Absolutely.
like over and over again. So that's awesome.
Well, I wanted to ask, we were talking about kind of live shows. I wanted to ask if any, I mean, you've been to a lot of shows, I know. Do any of them stand out as a favorite or maybe, top two or three?
Wow. Of all the shows that I've seen,
Yeah, that's a big question.
yeah. I mean, I'd say like in no particular order. Um, Seeing Radiohead was really, really big. Um, Especially since like obviously I knew who they were. Like I've heard their biggest songs or whatnot, right?
Hmm.
And like to be completely transparent, like I, went to go see them just to see them. But this was at Coachella,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
and I was like, yeah, I have to see them, right? I don't know, like they're huge, and I think like what I got out of it was like way more than what I expected from a late like main stage show, like a headlining show. Um, I was blown away. I thought that like I became like a huge Radiohead fan after that.
Hmm.
Maybe not as big as like some other people out there. That's for sure because they have a huge discography.
Yeah,
It's humongous, and some of it is like kind of hard to get through, to be completely honest. But
I agree. Yeah.
yeah, a huge fan in the sense that like I got like a huge like emotional attachment to what I saw and what I heard. So definitely Radiohead. That's also like what sprouted me to like want to listen to like Tom York's like solo projects and stuff, which are all really excellent.
Hmm.
Um, so yeah, Radiohead is definitely one. Um, Let me see. I mean, I have to say like seeing Toro and Moi like in Soho was a really big one for me too. I was I've always been a really big fan of his music. Um, and he's one of the artists that I feel like I kind of grew and evolved with. Like if you
Yeah.
listen to his first album, it's very like psychedelic rock, sort of hippie vibes, right? And then
Hmm.
it evolves like much more like over the years into like electronica. Um, and so with the start of his career, I think I was like in like early high school or something. And like, he's one of the few artists that I felt like, as I was growing as a person, so was he and his music. Right. And I never ever got to see him live before We The Beat had him. And it was just like an accumulation of a lot of things, right? Like it was We The Beat's like 3-year anniversary, or excuse me, 5-year anniversary. And, I've been working with them for like 2 years or 3 years at this rate. 3 years, I think. And, I've gotten really close to them, and Toro Ma was like a pretty big act considering, the volume that Soho could handle.
Yeah.
So, and I was a big fan, and I knew about it for like 6 or 7 months until it like actually, happened. So that was a really big one for me. I also got like mistaken as Toro Ma. Like, I was like, I think I told you this story. I was like taking pictures backstage, and I came out, and some girl was like, that's Toro. Like, she was like screaming. She was like really drunk, and everybody turned around. I was like wearing like a similar outfit to him. And some guy was like, that's definitely not him, dude. Like, yeah. So yeah, that's 2. 3. I gotta say, dude, like I could probably name like a whole bunch of people like as a third. I'm I'm just not too sure like where it would land. Seeing Kanye was really cool. That was a pretty big moment for me too. Mm-hmm. Seeing Kid Cudi was really, after his like whole redemption arc, within himself, was seeing him after that was really great, and seeing him happy, was like a big deal for me.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. I've been a really big fan of like electronic music my entire life. So probably seeing like, I mean, just in terms of like impact, like probably seeing like as funny as it sounds, like just seeing Skrillex at a really young age was like a huge thing for me too.
Oh, hell yeah.
Yeah, especially since like that kind of made me like want to get into mixing in the first place, and kind of discovering and bending genres like he did. So I think that's a really good way to cap that list off.
Yeah, that's an excellent list, I would say.
Yeah, what about yours, dude?
Gosh, yeah, I mean, there's definitely a lot I can think of that were great for different reasons. I think I've seen LCD a few times. We mentioned one of them. We saw them together at the Santa Barbara Bowl. But
yeah,
the first time I saw LCD was when they headlined Coachella in 2016, and that was pretty magical for me because I did not discover them until like 2011, like in high school, early high school, and that was right after they decided to quit.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Damn.
so they kind of like after their second or their third album, This Is Happening, they did a whole final last show, and they did a documentary, and they were like, all right, that's it, we're done. And so,
wow.
Yeah, I discovered them after that. And so I found all their music and fell in love and was like, wow, I will never see this band.
Yeah, and then funny enough, like they just keep making music and keep touring after that.
Yeah, exactly. There was like a couple years hiatus, and then they come back, and I'm like, I gotta be there. I mean, I already was planning on going to Coachella, but I was like, I have to be there, have to see them, and it really was everything I could have hoped for.
Yeah,
so that's definitely high on my list. I'd say another big one for me was kind of an artist that a lot of people probably wouldn't know. His name is Rain Wolf. And he's very like he's a little bit old school rock and roller kind of guy, but he's new. It's not like an old guy. He just plays an older style of like harder rock. And we saw him at the Troubadour with my high school.
Oh, great venue!
Yeah. It was with my high school bandmates, kind of at the end of high school.
Yeah, so
it's like very nostalgic in my mind because it's like the end of an era of
right.
like. All my bandmates in high school, we had such a great time playing together, and
right.
That artist Rain Wolf had an impact on us, and we saw a show, and he's just a hell of a performer. Like he plays guitar, and he'll play, a kick drum with his foot, and sing at the same time.
Yeah,
and he's just jumping all over the place. He's climbing up the balcony at the Troubadour and like hanging off the edge and just walking into the crowd. It was just like the epitome of like a rock and roller.
Nice. That sounds awesome.
Yeah, and
Rain Wolf.
Rain Wolf. Yeah,
that's just like it's just spelled normally like rain and wolf.
it's Rain as in
Like
REIGN.
got it.
Yeah. So
Rain Wolf, huh?
yeah, and a lot of his recorded music is kind of a letdown, and that's kind of been a joke with me and my old high school buddies because I think there was so much potential with him and some of his songs, and hearing him live was like amazing, and he was really talented. But then some of the stuff he's put out has been just a huge disappointment to us.
Oh yeah.
So that's kind of just a whole funny trope for us. It's interesting. So those are definitely like high on my list. I've got so many other good ones. I mean, I saw Young the Giant a couple times. Young the Giant especially was special. Seeing it with Katie for one of my birthdays. She bought me tickets at the for the Greek Theater, which is one of my favorite venues.
Yeah, really good venue.
So that one's high on the list too. Seeing Flume at the Shrine with her, like.
Oh, you saw Flume at the Shrine?
Yeah, it was like right after Skin came out.
Yeah. Who are the? Because I know like each day had a different like opening ensemble. Like, do you remember who yours was? Maybe we were there at the same time.
Yeah, it was Vince Staples.
Oh, Vince Staples. Okay, so that's definitely not the same. Oh wait, maybe. I don't remember. Because
he had like, didn't he does a feature on one of the songs, right?
Yeah. Wow, that must have been insane.
Yeah, it was really awesome. That one was sick. So I would say those are some of my favorites. I'm sure there's some other that I'm forgetting, but
yeah. Dude, yeah, no, that's awesome. I think ours was like Cashmere Cat and like I don't even remember, but
yeah,
that was a great show.
It was like 4 nights in a row or something, right?
Yeah, it was like something crazy like that, and each night had like a different opening cast.
Yeah, that's cool. You saw it too.
Yeah. I don't even, dude. I think I snuck into that show.
Really?
Yeah, I think I've snuck into the Shrine twice now. Obviously, like I have like enough money to start buying tickets, but like I was pretty broke when I was in college, and I snuck into like 2 different shows at the Shrine. And I think that was one of them.
Cool. It's very badass.
Not really, dude. I was like so scared. I think literally like I was like, it wasn't even like really sneaking. I didn't like jump the fence or anything. I just had like a fake ticket. And like I just found like a barcode online that would scan like no matter what.
Oh.
Yeah. So what's kind of funny about that is I was with like 4 friends, and mine was the only one that scanned. Wow. So like I think like, or this wasn't for Flume, but for the first show, I was watching that alone for like half the time, and then like my friends who like couldn't get in, like they bought like legit tickets or something, and they like got in or something. It was really weird.
That is funny.
Yeah.
Nice. Well, it worked for you.
Yeah. No idea how or why.
Yeah. Nice. Do you have a favorite? You've kind of played shows yourself at least a number of times now. I don't know how many shows you've played. Do you have a favorite as a performer?
I mean, I'd have to say it's everything that like we put on like together.
Uh-huh.
Like anything that like and a lot of credit goes to Aiden, because if I wasn't friends with him, if he didn't exist, like setting all that up would be much more difficult, and I'm pretty sure we'd fail.
Yeah.
Because he was just like really interested in the kind of like the inner workings of like how sound needs to work between wirings, like between like the sound panel that he had, and that was really beneficial. And obviously like having you and Eugene and a bunch of other people who were willing to kind of invest their time and their money into doing something like that, so that they could just have a good time with like anybody who wants to come. I'd say those are probably Like, I mean, the show we played at the jailhouse was huge for us. Like,
Yeah.
that took like by far the most amount of work I think like I've ever had to do. And like in one day, I mean, it's
Yeah.
just, it was just so like for anyone like who's listening who like doesn't know what the jailhouse is, it's like a abandoned, torn down like cement house like in the middle of the beach, where our school is. And to get there, you have to walk like, it has to be like over a mile, right?
Yeah.
It's like you have to walk like over a mile like in sand, to get to that area. And the reason why a lot of people like during college like threw shows there was that, you know, you can go as loud as you want, and but like more than likely no one's going to show up to you know, to stop it. So, you know, being able to like I had a lot of help with that, but you know, carrying all that equipment down, cleaning up the place because there's so much shattered glass everywhere, so that like, you know, no one got hurt. You
Yeah.
know, setting up the tarp, making sure we got there early. It was like we got there early in the morning, set up, sound check. People arrived. We played for like 3 hours in total, maybe three and a half, and then after that, like tore everything down and had to carry everything back, and it was like physically like very very exhausting. And
Yeah.
I think just, you know, obviously the experience was really great, but just having that memory of doing something like that is, it's always going to be kind of like my favorite kind of
Yeah.
performance or show that we've ever done.
Isn't it funny how like the things that are extremely hard end up being the things that really leave you with that satisfied and kind of nostalgic feeling? It's
Yeah, definitely. I think I was like carrying back like this humongous speaker like over a mile back, and I remember this was like at like 11:30, 12 a.m., and I'm hungry, like I haven't eaten anything
yeah.
like the entire day. Like just another backstory on that is that like we sent one of our friends to go get food for us, and he came back, and I'm not sure like what happened, but like there was too much moisture on the end of the bag, and it ripped like so like basically we had no food, and like the limited food that we had was like fucked up.
Yeah.
So I remember like carrying those speakers back at night, and I was like, dude, I better be able to like cherish this memory, or like what the like what the fuck am I doing? Like I remember like definitely having those thoughts. So I'm right there with you. I think those kinds
Yeah.
of memories are definitely more ingrained into things I cherish the most.
Yeah. I guess it's just like a feeling of accomplishment, really, because you overcame more of a challenge. You put more effort in, like literally physical effort was
Yeah.
expended at like a high rate. And regardless, I think regardless of how that show went musically, it was going to be a memorable experience.
Yeah. I agree. I think everyone was a little nervous that, you know, that they would mess up or something after all that work, but
Yeah.
yeah, but everything worked out. It was good from start to finish, and um, you know, just having the opportunity to do something like that to kind of close out our college years, because I think we talked about it for like forever. We talked about doing that since like 2 years before we actually did it, and then to actually do it was like a whole other story. So
Yeah. Well, I like to make sure I ask everybody who was in the Ivy UCSB scene, and I like for them to give something to listeners who maybe don't know anything about IV. I like to hear your description of IV as a community and as like a music scene.
Ivy as a community and as a music scene. Um, uh, it's so hard to explain like what Ivy is. Um,
Exactly.
it's like it's like, you know, the definition of a college town, in the sense that everybody who lives in IV, well, I mean, not everybody, but like 90% or more of the people who live there are college students. Um, it's kind of siloed into this like area of Santa Barbara that nothing else is around there except for like food places for college students and like the college campus itself. Um, there's like surrounding things like a little outside of IV. Like there's like families and stuff, but that's not really IV, right? So um, I think it was just like a free for all. I my memory of IV is always going to be like I just think of it as like one long camp I did, like not like camping with like my friends or something, but like when you were younger you went to like Y camp or something.
Yeah, like summer camp or
Yeah,
something.
like summer camp. Yeah, exactly. Like it felt like 4 years of like me being in like some adult, like young adult camp. Like
Yeah.
like it was weird. Like it felt like it was kind of like a boarding school, like summer camp or something. Because like everywhere you walked, like something was going on, no matter what the day is. So it was extremely vibrant. Um, it was extremely chaotic. Um, but the people there are some of the best people that I've ever met, and I think the music scene is definitely like a reflection of that. It's just in that sort of chaos, like that is IV, like you have all these different sectors and groups of people that like different kinds of music and want to play different kinds of music, appreciate a lot of things. There was a lot of live bands in IV because we had the opportunity to kind of play really loud songs and stuff. It was part of the culture. So music was definitely a part of Isla Vista, like wherever you go. I mean, whether like you're walking down the street and you hear like 50 Cent's like best hits, like played on like max volume or something on like a Thursday night, or walking down one more block and hearing like a local band play, it was definitely like entrenched into uh students' lives.
Absolutely. I think that is a beautiful description.
Yeah, I definitely miss it. I don't miss a lot of it, like in terms of like having to live with a lot of people in one room. Like I like having my own room now and stuff, but
Absolutely.
but I definitely miss having the kind of freedom and being really close to my friends and stuff, being able to walk there.
Oh yeah, I miss walking everywhere.
Yeah.
Well, we both know I had the worst roommate ever.
Yeah. I've heard a lot about this guy. I've heard he was a very unsavory character.
Yeah, he's just despicable on every level.
Yeah, I think I've had a couple of run-ins with him, like Judd Zingle, or I don't know, something like that. I don't know.
Something ridiculous like
something
that.
Something like that. Yeah.
I tried to never learn his name personally.
Yeah.
Anyway, I want to make sure we get to the main question because I have to ask this question.
Sure.
This whole podcast is kind of me trying to explore the different answers to this because it's open-ended for sure. But as a musician and as somebody who loves music as a fan and somebody who loves to discover music and go to live shows, what do you think is the point of making music? And also specifically, why do you make music?
What's the point of making music? Well, I don't know. That's a tough question to answer because I feel like it's kind of like primal in a sense that you don't really know like what the point is, or other than the fact that it's making you happy, right? Like obviously there's the kind of complexities behind that, like it like gets much more advanced, like further down the line. But I think that's kind of like the root of it all is just you have this urge and this itch to be able to create something of your own, and I don't think it's necessarily only in music. I think it comes in like a lot of different forms. It's just music, it tends to be one of them. Um, and you start to go on this journey of like creating something that's yours, and having the opportunity to listen to something that, or looking at your final product and just being proud of it. I think it's just being happy and wanting to find something that makes you happy. um Sorry, I forgot your the second part of your question.
The second part was just to relate it to you personally.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the best way of explaining to anyone who would ask me that, like how, what the point of that is for me.
Yeah.
um I've never really been the type of person to, I think, you would probably know this as much as like anybody else, is that like I don't really advertise the fact that like I'm doing something, um or I created something, or and that could be like a total fault on my end. Like I might not be doing things the right way, but I've just I'm I just kind of like doing it for myself. And
Yeah.
over time I've found people that have like appreciated or said that they've want to be involved in, like, whether it's listening or like playing with me. um and so like when the time does, or like when the time comes, like it's like more than ever, it's like just having everybody that I've had those experiences with being involved with it, and kind of communally, is that a word? Communally,
Yeah. You got it.
yeah, communally, just being like really happy together. And um yeah, I I I just think that finding like joy within something is definitely the biggest reason why I pursue being able to play music.
Absolutely. Great answers.
Thanks, dude.
There's so many different ways of looking at it and aspects, and I especially was picking up on how you said you don't really like to promote yourself too much. I think a lot of musicians do feel that way, in that you know it's a totally different thing to make something and then to like share it with people. Sometimes it could be just for yourself, sometimes you want it to be for other people, but the act of like promoting it is not as fun for most people. And there's a lot of different angles to it, and sometimes if you get too caught up in the promotion or something, it makes the act of making the music less enjoyable. And so it's totally like a lot of people just like to make it for themselves.
Yeah, and I think a lot of it has to do with like me being, maybe overly conscious of, people's thoughts, and what people would think of like my own vanity. And
Yep.
there's a lot of those kinds of things that I worry about. And I get kind of caught up and wrapped up in. And of course, like I just don't want to push anything down anyone's throat that don't
Yeah.
doesn't want to see or hear about like what's going on with that portion of my life. So yeah, I don't know, I guess I'm kind of solo in that way.
I think a
But
lot of people would be with you on that,
yeah.
but obviously we hear about those people less
Right, that's definitely true.
because of what exactly what you're saying.
Yeah. I mean, dude, there's some like big time artists, you know, I feel like, who kind of started out in that way and are still continuing to be that way. They're just not willing to continuously put themselves out there. They're like, okay, I'm going to do this thing, and I'm going to just like spend time on my own. And if people like it, they like it. If they don't, they don't. And
Yeah.
um, yeah, it's like interesting, right? Like yeah, I don't know. That's just the best way of explaining it for myself, anyways.
Yeah. Which artists come to mind when you think of that?
Well, I think Kendrick is like a really good example of that.
Yeah.
I think he's like the prime example of like, here's this album, it's coming out, the album comes out, it's obviously really good, and then he performs on it, because a lot of people like it, has like a strong reaction to it, but like he doesn't do like too much press about it or anything, right? Like he just puts it out there. It's like his body of work that he's been working on somewhat silently, and he does the whole tour and then he's gone. Like it's like he doesn't like talk about like what other things he's going to be doing again. He doesn't like promote himself within the last I think it's been 4 years since like his last album came out.
Yeah.
And there's been like no self promotion on his end. Like he's not like on Instagram going like, oh, like, I'm in the studio right now and stuff like that. So, I think he's like a really good example. That's just like the guy that comes off the top of my head.
Yeah.
He's just kind of singular in that way. And I think, I mean, I could be wrong about this, but I think that's kind of how he got his start, right? Like he kept putting out bodies of work and it got found by like TDE. And I think that's just how he kind of continued to do things since like he first started.
Yeah. Absolutely. Well, here's kind of a fun offset to the deep question about the point of making music. I like to know, what do you like to do besides music? What are your non-musical hobbies?
What are my non-musical hobbies? I like to cook a lot. It's been something that I've like had a fascination with like since I was super young. It's very, very similar to making music and discovering music. You're discovering different profiles of food and what pairs with what, and kind of taking two unique things and trying to match them up, and it does end up working together. So I'm not like classically trained or anything. I've always liked making food. I've always been like really, really like involved with like trying to figure out like the best chefs and stuff like in my area and like in the US, and just kind of keeping up with them through like books and their own kind of social media or whatnot. So that's definitely one of them. I mean, yeah, I definitely say that's a pretty big one. Nowadays I mean, I think when quarantine first started, I was like playing, a good amount of video games, like just like how everybody else was probably.
Yeah.
I kind of like started to kind of get away from that. Like I've just been, I don't know, just kind of doing my own thing. It's not much. Like I just kind of like lounge around and kind of just think and stuff. I don't know. It's weird. It sounds really stupid when I say it, but
No.
yeah, I'm kind of like just zoned out.
Hey, there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, I mean, it just like it sounds really silly when I say it, because it obviously like I watch whatever good shows are out or whatnot, but nowadays like I've been really fascinated with I've never really gone fishing before, and like
Ooh.
yeah, I've never really gone fishing before, and I've like I think like fairly recently like I've been considering getting into golfing.
Oh.
Like my dad gave me his clubs and stuff. So
Yeah.
like, I think they're very similar in the sense that it's like kind of quieter, kind of serene activities.
Yeah.
And I'm wanting to get into both of those things like pretty heavily. And I think just like in this kind of portion of my life, I'd really prefer to do stuff like that. That's kind of more laid back and, kind of mind zoning. If that makes sense.
They're kind of meditative.
Right. Yeah. You're just kind of in like a mood when you're doing it.
Yeah. I like it. Well, we're coming up to the end. I wanted to see if you're still doing your streaming sets on Saturday nights. Is that still happening?
Yeah. So I haven't done it in a while. And the reason why I haven't done it in a while is, truthfully, I just started running out of songs to play.
Sure.
Yeah, I I think I try to play for at least 2 hours every Saturday. Um, but that's a lot of songs, right? Um,
Definitely.
yeah, and I don't. I typically 95% of the time I don't play the same songs week to week. So I'm whoops, that's my alarm. I'm typically going I'm searching for new songs to play. I'm doing a lot of research on what might work, and then going like 48 hours to 72 hours before the day to really hone in on like what's going to be able to be like the best 2 hour product available. Um, and it was really really great for, I think I did it for 4 weeks in a row.
Mhm.
And I switched up like somewhere in between, but I stopped after that just because like I think that, or maybe this is something that was just like in my own head, but I think that people might have needed a break from me kind of telling them that I'm going to be playing. um, B, I started to run out of like songs that I wanted to play, and C, it just seemed less fun for me and more of like a chore, in the sense that like I was now like dedicating like my Saturdays like to do this thing every time. And
Yeah.
so all of those three things, like it made me kind of sit back and say like, okay, dude, I need to like, hold off on doing this for a little bit, regroup and regather in a couple weeks, and then like come back like the next month, like really strong. That way,
Yeah.
like people have something to like look forward to, instead of like having it so frequently, or me like kind of getting like not stressed out exactly, but like me setting tasks for myself to go ahead and do that. Like
Yeah.
I think having it like semi frequently, or we'll see how it goes, but I think having it semi frequently will be better. I'm not planning to do it this Saturday, but I am planning to do it next Saturday at the very beginning of June. So yeah, I'll go ahead and send notices beforehand and whatnot. So yeah, really really excited to get back to doing that. I think it's been like an entire month since I stopped doing it.
Yeah. For anybody listening who doesn't really know you, how would they be able to find it?
Yeah, it's on twitch.tv/Saturday Tunes. I don't know how that name wasn't taken before quarantine.
Yeah, that's a sweet
Um,
name.
yeah, I really like it. I either play, most of the time I play on Saturdays around 8 p.m., 8:30, and I go for 2.5 hours. Sometimes I'll switch it up and I'll play a lot of like cool down stuff on Sundays, like in the afternoon or in the evening. Just really chill, stuff like Khruangbin and I don't even know, like a bunch of stuff, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, you can find me on twitch.tv/Saturday Tunes. If anybody wants to, see it or find a link to it or know like what the times are going to be, sometimes it changes. Feel free to let me know. You can find me on Instagram, Kevin Sepia, and kind of work with me from there. And I'd be happy to kind of keep you guys in the loop.
Perfect. Alrighty. This is the end. Will you do me the honor of recommending another person that you would like to be a guest on this show, or you think somebody who would be interesting to kind of hear their take on all the topics of music and why people make music?
Yeah. Have you heard of this like James Murphy guy?
Oh my god. Dude, I'm just waiting on a reply. I sent him an email.
Yeah, that'd be insane, right? Yeah, I don't know. I could. You know what would be really cool is, I feel like you've definitely talked to me about We the Beat and my experiences within it,
Hmm.
often, and have been to some shows. I think it'd be cool, like now that like there is a lot of downtime right now between Kirk and Blake. Like I can 100% set up like another one of these like podcasts, like hour meetings between the three of you guys, and talk to them about really the inner mechanisms of like hiring artists, what that takes, maybe some of their like inside stories and anecdotes of like what kind of shows that they've had and stuff. I think that'd be really cool.
I think that sounds fucking sick.
Yeah.
I'm down.
Yeah, I'll definitely ask them if you want me to set it up.
Definitely.
Yeah, 100%.
We'll coordinate after this.
Yeah.
All right, dude. Keep making cool shit. Keep doing your thing. We always end with a high five. Before I do that, though, I like to just check and make sure if there's anything else you want to say. Is there anything you want to just shout out randomly or something you were thinking of that you didn't get to say?
No. Again, like my Instagram is Kevin Sepia, twitch.tv/Saturday Tunes. Saturdays at 8 or 8:30, sometimes Sunday. Appreciate you having me on. Like this was really fun. I think I said this at the beginning of the podcast. I was really, really looking forward to doing this. It's been like a while since I've talked to somebody about music like in depth. So I was really looking forward to this. Thank you again, and I'm looking forward to the next podcast with you, Kirk and Blake.
Absolutely. Thank you for being here. I have also enjoyed it, and it's fun to just catch up with you too. We haven't chatted in a while, so
yeah, that's right.
It's been great. All right, high five. So I'm going to count down 3, 2, 1, and then we're going to high five virtually.
But like you say high five, or you actually?
It's up to you to decide.
Okay.
3, 2, 1.
High five. Oh shit. Okay, I thought that's what we were doing. No, that's actually so much smarter. I didn't.
No,
I didn't realize like we could do that. Yeah.
No, I usually explain to people that they should clap, but then you said that, and I was like, no, that's gonna be funny. I want to hear you say the word high five.
Okay, yeah, fair enough. I thought it was like a quarantine type high five. So.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. That's great. That's great.